So my topic for this module is the digital gap between rich and poor children. Um, so I chose this topic because when I actually read the article, it was completely different from what I thought it was going to be about. It's kind of actually about like this new kind of moral panic, and the article focuses on rich, overprotective, privileged families versus middle class and lower middle class families and their access to technology. So my assumptions were that lower class families would have less access to technology and would get left behind with the advancing technological society. But actually, the article illustrates that technology is becoming more and more accessible. It's becoming cheaper, easier, cheaper to afford. And so these lower middle class families, they're getting more access to technology, and so their children are ending up spending more time on these screens. So basically, the rich, overprotective, privileged Silicon Valley parents are trying to wean their kids off this technological addiction, and trying to lower their screen time because they're worried about the harmful effects of the amount of screen time their children were having. So this is kind of like a new research paradigm. It's a new topic. It's like a current trend in parenting for basically if you limit your kid's screen time, it means you're a good parent. So that's one of the aspects of this topic as well. Is it just a trend? Is it actually helpful for children to limit their screen time? So yeah, that's why I chose this topic. This topic is important because, as I mentioned, is this technique actually helpful for children? Is it actually a good parenting technique to lower or monitor your kids' screen time? Another kind of side to this issue is another article I was reading, which is one of the links, is that maybe limiting screen time or reducing screen time is not necessarily the better option. Another option could be for parents to engage with their children in their digital space and kind of use it as a tool for connecting with their child, learning about their interests, instead of just shutting it down and just diminishing or completely like shutting out their access to the social internet. So this kind of relates to interactions between society and technology that we discussed earlier in the course. Society's interactions with technology are changing depending on depending on your class ranking, where you stand in society, what you're able to afford. In this case, the richer, privileged families are choosing to move away from the technological aspect in their child rearing techniques and are choosing to go back to more older fashioned kind of like the roots basically. Or maybe they can just afford to have nannies to come and watch their children, or maybe they can afford to send their kids to after school curricular activities or stuff like that, which lower income families can't afford. All they can probably afford is a tablet and the internet to watch something for their child. So yeah, when I first came to the course, that's what my initial thoughts would have been, that poor kids would not have as much access to technology and would get left behind. And by the end of the course, I'm realizing that it actually does make sense that children from lower income families would still have access to technology, because this problem is a global north problem. If we're being realistic, it's not a worldwide issue. It's a first world problem. So yeah, it completely makes sense to me, and technology is being provided and produced cheaper and cheaper, and access is getting easier and easier. Thoughts on the subject suggest that people are unsure about whether they should increase or decrease their children's screen time. Some people are for it and the use of it in classrooms. Some people are completely against it and want to revert back to old methods of teaching and parenting. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a first world problem, and this article is specifically catering to a specific social class in society, that basically the privileged upper class family. So yeah, thank you.